Let's get you more on this opening ceremony and, of course, the games that are set to follow. Stratos Safioelas is a strategic communication advisor and an Olympic bid specialist. Stratos, thanks very much for speaking to France 24 this afternoon. The setbacks then have been undeniable. So much uncertainty, if you will, about whether these games are going to go ahead or whether they're not. I'd like to kick off by getting your thoughts on seeing these games actually get underway.
Well, as someone who has worked for an opposing bid, Madrid, back then when Tokyo was vying for the games between Tokyo, Istanbul, and Madrid, I have to tell you, I congratulate the Japanese for their perseverance. I think if there was a country to manage to pull it off in the middle of a pandemic and after a deadly earthquake, Japan is that country. And arriving at the point of the opening ceremony, it cannot be cynical, but you have to be very happy watching this sea of humanity, smaller than in the past, but still quite impressive.
I mean, you said it there, Stratos. This is certainly smaller than in the past. A 68,000 capacity stadium, essentially, I wouldn't say empty, but certainly no fans there to cheer the athletes on. We know that athletes are determined; they'll go on regardless. Can we expect, though, the ambience, the atmosphere of the games to be the same without these fans?
Well, certainly something is going to be lost. Now, for the hundreds of millions of spectators around the world, this is going to be a fantastically produced Olympics. As always, the IOC has the capacity, the Olympic TV has that capacity. The athletes will suffer a little bit because they would like to feed from the energy, and also the Japanese fans. The Japanese are people committed to the Olympics, and I've worked quite some time to be able to say that they really love their sports. It's very unfortunate, but given the circumstances, I think this was the prudent way to move forward.
I mean, the circumstances here are key. Of course, there have been many people calling for this competition not to go ahead. I mean, do you think that they're wrong? Should the games have gone ahead, or do you think that more precaution should have been taken?
Listen, of course, we will find out in the aftermath. We have seen a model like that in the NBA, that they managed to host a competition and pull it through in the middle of a pandemic. Obviously, the Olympics is a bigger logistic challenge. From what I understand, the measures are draconian. And I think in the end, I have faith that this will get through without endangering the health of either the athletes or the Japanese public.
Now, we know that you're involved, or you have been certainly in the past, as an Olympic bid specialist outside of the coronavirus. Tell us why, Tokyo is a great city for this to take place.
Well, I mean, Tokyo is one of these cities that, the metropolitan cities that everybody would like to visit or, be inspired by the art, by the technology, by the vigor of the city. I think without a doubt, the Olympics have chosen a place where the games can be staged successfully, as I think is the case also for the cities that follow, Paris and Los Angeles. It was, again, Madrid would have been a fantastic city for that too, but I'm sure that Tokyo will succeed.
Just a final question for you, Stratos. The Tokyo president, Hashimoto, then coming out and saying, look, this Olympics will offer hope, a moment of peace for people whose lives are essentially quite chaotic or far from peaceful, to use his words. I'd like to get your sentiment there. Is that one that you share?
I believe a lot in the Olympics and in the values behind it. Every time that you go in an opening ceremony and you see all these athletes from around the world, in the middle of a resurgent nationalism and fanaticism and extremism, I would like to take every opportunity that I have to bring the goal together. So I think, especially in this time and after the pandemic, the Olympic can actually bring a message of hope for around the world.
All right, well, on that note of hope, Stratos Safioelas, you're a strategic communication advisor and an Olympic bid specialist. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on France 24.
My pleasure.
Let's get you some